We're back in 2020, and you know the drill. Retro games,
Beer.
fireballs,
Uppercuts.
beer.
It starts right here.
It happens right now on Pouring Pixels. Hadouken! Oh, better watch out. Better watch out, baby. Here it comes.
Not that stupid move again.
Nah, here it comes. You're going to get it one more time. Oh, there it goes.
God, 1,000 deaths!
You know what, man? I'm gonna do that shit to you in real life. You watch.
Ah, stop crying. Hey, Hyper EX combo finish. Is that good? Did I break it?
What's going on? What you got here, buddy?
Oh, man, we got a whole bunch of hot wings, man. You should grab a seat. Have a plate.
Maybe I will. Or maybe I'll just eat them all.
Huh?
Die 1,000 deaths!
Dude, are you serious?
Delicious.
Yo, what the fuck?
Hey, what's going on? What are you doing, buddy?
Oh, you know, just a little bit of Jenga. You wanna play?
Hell yeah. You mind if I go first?
No, I mean, not at all. Whatever.
Die 1,000 deaths!
God damn it, dude! Really?
You lose.
You know what? You know what? Two can play at this game.
Welcome back, buddy. I miss you. You ready for some season 2?
Yeah. Cheers. Our beer stash! What? Guess what, baby? You've made it one more time! All this way to season 2 of Pouring Pixels. Don't worry, we missed you too. He's Crotto, Sonic Booming That Booty.
He is Ozako. Yoga Fire Crotch.
You better believe it. And today, we're pouring up Hitachino Nest White Ale from Kiuchi Brewery all the way from Naka Ibaraki, Japan. Now, this brewery is special because it started in 1823, and 170 years later, a new challenger arrived in the form of Japanese updated alcohol tax laws. This meant that now sake breweries, little breweries, can finally brew beer. So 2 years later, they produced the first Hitachino Nest White Ale. And less than a year later, that sucker is already winning gold medals in Japan's international beer competition. Now, drinking this wheat ale is a complex experience, right? It uses things like coriander and orange peel to really promote that flavor. But what really makes it special is that it's a Belgian American style wheat ale. Now that's interesting, right? Because if you think about it, it's not the kind of beer that's native to coming out of Japan, like rice lagers, which we've covered before. This is a Japanese interpretation of otherworldly brewing cultures. And that is exactly why we like it for Street Fighter.
Exactly, because Street Fighter is, to my opinion, the most culturally relevant game that's ever come out. I mean, even since Street Fighter 1, you had characters from all kinds of countries, like England, you had characters from Japan, you had characters from China, where they had the Great Wall of China in the background, so they represented it, not just the characters, but like real life settings in the background.
Right. These stages were real places you can see. When you had Zangief, you went to Russia and you saw kind of the construction era fighting. When you fought Dalsim, you went to India and you kind of had the elephant shrine thing going on. These were really excellent cultural representations coming out of Capcom as far back as 1987. Now, ever since then, Street Fighter has become the most relevant game in the actual fighting game culture as well. Everybody knows Street Fighter, right?
Exactly.
It's come out with so many multiple iterations of itself. Its characters are featured everywhere, and it is even responsible for the greatest esports moment in history.
Yes, Evo Moment 37 with Justin Wong and Daigo Umehara.
Right, and this was for the championship. It comes down, and Daigo is in a corner. Justin Wong's fixing to take it, and they're playing Street Fighter 3, which had this really crazy, hard to pull off parry system. And he gets him hit for every. You know what? Let's just go and show it to him.
And regarding pop culture, Street Fighter has been in so many iterations, it's unbelievable. It's been in animated movies, games, anime, you name it. I mean, Wreck-It Ralph,
Right.
Zangief had a major part in the first one. Chun-Li and Ryu made cameos in the second one. There was Street Fighter, the animated movie. There was City Hunter with Jackie Chan, who dressed as Chun-Li and beat the crap out of everybody.
That shit was funny too, yeah.
That movie is hilarious. And then of course there's Street Fighter, the live action movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And you remember we talked about it in the Mortal Kombat episode where Mortal Kombat wanted to
Get Jean-Claude Van Damme for like
yeah,
Johnny
they wanted
Cage,
to
right?
base him out of Jean-Claude Van Damme, but Street Fighter is the one that actually got him, and he was Guile.
Yeah, but was he Guile? I mean, the movie didn't follow anything at all. And poor Raul Julia, it was one of his last
It
performances.
was his last movie, and rest in peace, Raul Julia. And then there's the crossovers.
Right.
Like Smash Brothers Ultimate, the latest iteration in the Nintendo Switch, has Ken and Ryu. X-Men vs. Street Fighter started the whole versus series with Marvel vs. Capcom, Capcom vs. SNK, you name it. Even non-fighting games like Monster Hunter World has freaking characters from Street Fighter.
Right. Street Fighter became so big, their team became so huge that they had the capability to expand all over the place. They even had their hand in what's considered a dark time for people in the series, the EX series, where they got into polygonal
I
fighting.
loved it though, I loved it.
I liked it around EX3, right? But all of this was extraneous to the primary core of Street Fighter titles 1, 3, Third Strike, and everything in between. But you know what? It's time to start talking about it.
Yeah, let's
Time
throw
to
down.
start being about
Let's
it.
throw down,
Let's
baby.
throw down, baby. All right, pouring pixels first. Gameplay time. Let's fucking hit it. All right, we're gonna begin from the beginning. Capcom's 1987 premiere title of the name Street Fighter 1. So Street Fighter 1 was essentially just a one-player game, but you see right here we have player 1 versus player 2. So we go ahead and get started. You can choose who your country is going to be. So we talked about that cultural relevance, right?
Well, it's actually who you're gonna fight against.
Right. Where you're gonna go, like travel for your next fight. Right. And so player 1 is always gonna be Ryu. And so here we go with the actual gameplay. You can see it's a lot less fluid than what you may be used to as Street Fighter titles like Street Fighter 2. And the moves in this, ironically enough, were a secret. There was no strategy guides, nobody said anything, and they're really difficult to pull off. I'm actually trying to pull off a fireball, which is the same motion that we all know to be that quarter circle forward, and it's just not happening, right?
And if you remember, back in the day in the arcade, it was a huge button that you would mash on, and it was just a punch and a kick.
Right. And so they later went to the 6-button format, light, medium, heavy punch, light, medium, heavy kick, because that pressure-sensitive controller led to a lot of broken arcade machines.
4 years later, Street Fighter 2 initiated in 1991, and that blew everybody away. It's what started the whole revolution of fighting games. I mean, everybody mimicked Street Fighter. But let's go down and let's show them what we're talking about.
Right, you know, Street Fighter 2 is essentially the first Street Fighter experience for most people, myself included, right? In fact, until recently, and a few years ago, I didn't even play Street Fighter 1. And that seems to be the general consensus with a lot of people that grew up in the 80s and 90s, right? Street Fighter 2 is where it really fucking took off. And rightfully so, because it was essentially a whole different game. Now this game focused on competitive aspects, right? The moves are a lot easier to pull off. The 3-button system was really made for it, and it allowed for competition worldwide in the arcade. The moves are not nearly as hard to pull off, but as you can see, it's still rather slow for the type of fighting games we're used to seeing. And this game actually gave us a whole slew of characters other than just the 2 with the same basic moveset as we were originally used to. Right here we're using Kratos' secondary main because his real main doesn't even come out till a few iterations later.
Right.
Neither does mine, right?
Yeah. Although this was my main back in the day, like when Street Fighter 2 and all the iterations afterwards came out. So this was my original main, Chun-Li.
Right. And the creativity consistent with the mechanics of this game was really something to behold too. A lot like Street Fighter 1, you have the typical motions for the fireball, dragon uppercut, and hurricane kick. However, there's a whole different moveset for other characters. Inputs like rapidly hitting a punch or kick button, or even charging a movement for 2 seconds back and forward, or either vertically up and down, did various things for various characters. This was a way to really differentiate the movesets and special move capabilities beyond just the typical gameplay people would know from Street Fighter 1.
Right, they kept the 6-button correlation in this game.
And from there on out, yeah.
Yeah. And even to the day, there's a lot of fighting games that are like keep the 4-button mechanic, and very few have the 6-button. Killer Instinct is one of them that does.
And right here, what I'm trying to get him with is kind of a dial-a combo. Because there's a light, medium, heavy for both punch and kick, and now he's doing it back to me. He's giving me a taste of my own fucking medicine. Essentially, what you could do is what they call a dial-a combo, where you start with the light, punch or kick, go into the medium, instantly hit the heavy, right? And that's how you get kind of those quick, rapid successions that do heavy damage.
Right.
This was a new skill that fighters had to learn with really going into Street Fighter.
So moving on to just a year over, 1992. Capcom released Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition.
Right.
They added the 4 bosses as selectable characters, so now you had 12. You know, fast forward to 1992, towards the end of the year, they just upped the speeds. Something else they did that was pretty interesting is they had different color clothing for some of the characters.
Right. So you said alternate color palettes other than
Right.
just the offset of the same color.
Yeah. And I don't know the whole story, but I don't think they planned this game. The thing is that at this point, this game was so popular. There was a lot of like modded arcades in the day,
right?
Where Ken Ryu could throw like 800 fireballs,
right?
And like jump in the air and do hurricane kicks and like throw fireballs at the same time. It was just crazy. There was so many mods, so they released that to kind of like pacify that because people thought it was too slow,
right?
So they released Hyper Fighting, and then October '93, they released 4 more characters. At this point, they were trying to compete with Mortal Kombat because they knew Mortal Kombat was a threat.
Mortal Kombat hit the scene and it spread like wildfire.
Right.
But Capcom was not about to be outdone by these American fucks, right?
So they planned on releasing Street Fighter 3. Another thing that they did not plan is because of Mortal Kombat's competition, they had to release another game. And like as you said earlier, nowadays we have like we have expansions, we had downloadable content. Not in the day. You had Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Hyper Fighting, New Challengers, and then we come to the next one and the last one, the final edition, which is Turbo, 1994. You know what they introduced for the first time in a Capcom game is the Supers.
Which became a staple in animated fighting games moving forward. If you play any sort of video games, there's some sort of enhanced special moves, right? Even Mortal Kombat took a page out of that book, and it all started with Street Fighter 2 Super Turbo.
Right.
This is the most updated, the most up to speed, and the final iteration of the game, and it's going to be our next one moving forward.
That's correct.
Let's dive in. All right, and starting off, as you see, the character selection screen from the original Street Fighter has literally doubled. We went from 8 to 16 with 4 bosses and 4 new characters. Now, personally, in this one, I like Sagat. Now, Cammy was Sagat, pardon me. Cammy is Kratos' main, and this was her first introduction here. Yeah. So we're gonna see how she plays out.
Well, just to say, she's my main in like 4 and 5, but not in this one.
Well, you're showing her some old school love right now.
Yeah, I have to. I gotta represent. I can use. Chun-Li's my main in this one, but I have to like show her off a little bit, see what she can do, especially against Sagat. That guy's a tough opponent. He's always been pretty good in most of the Street Fighter games. He's been a freaking threat. But here we go. Cannon, let's go.
From the
And
That's complete bullshit. You shouldn't have even been able to pull that fucking shit off. Get the fuck out of here.
You know what? I wasn't even trying.
I'm sure you were. Yeah, see how I got that back heel on that one?
Tiger. Tiger. Boom.
Dang.
Woo.
I might have to switch up from the controllers like we were talking about. Yeah, I'm blaming my controller now. I'm doing it.
Which controller?
Actually, let's give me the fucking Joy-Cons. Let's do that.
Oh.
I'm dead serious. Here comes a new challenger. All right, let's try this again and see if I do a little better. Hong Kong.
Oh shit! You got one of the Joy-Cons. Oh!
Oh!
Look at you starting strong. I think you got me this time, man.
Then how did you get the fucking stun? That's fucking horseshit.
No! Don't do it.
Alright. Oh wait, what the fuck? Fuck! God damn.
Oh man, now you're trying hard. Look at you try hard.
Ah!
You see that pair? You see that?
Oh! I don't know what you're trying to do, baby. That's not how you do it.
Look at that perfect!
Perfect is that bad?
Yeah.
Now, the last game we're going to get into is Street Fighter 3 Third Strike with the clip that we saw with Daigo and Wong earlier.
Right.
This is the game they played. This was the most competitive, so let's fucking do it, baby.
Let's do it.
Alright, getting in, you see some of the artwork. Now, one of the early criticisms about Street Fighter 3 as a whole is that they try to be way too futuristic. They tried to have that cultural relevancy that we talked about earlier, but they're trying to bring it to the real deal Japanese Akira style like future, right? So you see some real odd characters with this. But gameplay wise, it was incredible. It was updated. There were various hyper combos that you could actually choose with each character, and you can really adjust your gameplay and customize it to your style accordingly. Now, finally, I get to play with my main Akuma. So we're gonna see how this works out.
Ooh.
Now, this has the parry system, which I've already been warned by Crotto a few days ago not to even fucking try, because it's incredibly hard to pull off, and he is convinced he will make me pay for it if I decide to do so. Now, as you see, the animation and motions are a lot more vibrant than they were in Street Fighter 2. Right away, you see a lot more going on with each individual decision super move made.
Yeah.
Oh, missed that one.
It almost looks like the art style from King of Fighters, you know?
Right.
It's very artistic. It's
Actually, I see a lot of Darkstalkers in it.
Yeah. So Darkstalkers was actually, the art was inspired by the Alpha series.
Mm-hmm.
If you can see, there's a lot of similarity between the two, but this had, it's just beautiful.
Right.
It's my favorite for all the Street Fighter games, and apparently I'm not alone. And they introduced a lot of different characters, like, you know, a lot of favorites like Gaio and Blanca were gone, you know. And but it introduced a lot of interesting characters. It's you know how you talked about futuristic,
Right.
You know, there's the weirdest character I saw was Oro from Brazil. You know, apparently he was the one that trained Ryu. Like they kind of implemented
the one-armed guy that like ties his arm around behind his back so it could be fair.
And then there's 12. Like, what the hell is he? You know, he's like all elastic. It's really weird. That's where I think futuristic when you talk about that. Ooh.
Getting a little sign now. It's getting a little competitive already. No. Aha.
Oh, wow.
Made me pay for it.
Nice one, man.
Yeah.
Close.
Go fuck yourself. I mean, All right, getting into one more, we're going to switch it up a little bit. There's really not much else you can say about the Street Fighter series. Even playing into the new series like Street Fighter 4 and 5 and the more modern generations, essentially a Street Fighter game is a Street Fighter game. You're battling for space, you're knowing how far your super moves reach, and it's all about timing, and it's a fast-paced chess match. Everything about this game is wonderful, and it just got better and better as time went on. When it was finally time to completely rehash the series with versions like Street Fighter 4 and 5 on modern day consoles, they really paid tribute to what made the old games special, and that's why it's still a relevant series today. And so as I finally get my ass kicked for the last time, I'm gonna give it the old college try though. I mean, I'm not gonna be a complete bitch about this. We're gonna see whatever we can do to try to get better and not be a scrub accordingly. Carter's not even worried about it right now. He's just done fucking talking. Look at this guy.
So you see the stage? You see who we're using?
Yeah.
That was a Daigo match right there. Daigo Justin match with this stage.
And this actual costume, that's why
Yeah.
I tried. Now, I'm going to try the parry system. I'm not going to try the parry system. Yeah.
Come on, parry. Actually, you know, you're the one that does the comeback, so
Yeah,
let's
I know.
see it. Parry it! Come on, that was your chance.
Alright, guys. Well, we've had enough alcohol to kill an army of horses. And we are doing our bodies no good by continuing. So there we go for Street Fighter 3. Street Fighter is such an expansive series that we cannot possibly get into every detail of everywhere it's had its fingers in video game culture throughout time. But we enjoy the living shit out of it. So, once again, thank you so much for liking and subscribing. We'll do better next time. He's been Crotto.
He's been Ozako.
And you have been fantastic.
Yes, you
Thank you
have.
so much.
Hadouken.
Oh, bullshit! You should have been able to counter that, you fucking piece of shit. I mean, I love you, but fuck you.
What?
Ah!
Parry it!
Super finish? Is that good?